All right, guys, so here's a more in-depth view of what it looks like to come away from a conference or some type of workshop training and get something really great out of it, okay? So again, number one thing you want to make sure you do is have a collection. Go back through all your notes. What are the big things that caught your attention? What are the kind of key takeaways? What were the statements that people said that grabbed your thought and made you think differently? Put that into some type of sheet and document and start looking that over, okay? Talk about that with people who are a part of your team, part of your life, and let them even highlight and star some things that they might see, okay? Then you need to make sure after you've done that, the first big thing you do is take those takeaways and define the paradigm shift. A lot of people don't talk about this. I'll tell you what this is. What is it that God has changed your perspective of? What are you going to live to be true now that you didn't live to be true before? Where are you going to allow something to shift and change deep down inside of who you are and what you believe that you're going to live from to be true from now on? Some examples of this, and I encourage people to do all of these personally and professionally. Personally might be, for me, I realize that I need to trust what I've been taught. I need to trust what I've been taught, trust my experience, trust my gut more in some of these professional coaching and leading and strategic work conversations that I'm having instead of doubting it. I need to trust in that and not doubt it. I need to stop thinking about my skills, maybe in comparison to somebody else who's done something different, and realize that God's given me unique abilities and differences that are helpful and needed and valuable, and to kind of lean into that difference. And another big thing is I need to listen. I need to listen better and realize that what other people have to say is probably more valuable than me. And I want to continue to make the distinguishing factor of a relationship or a professional relationship with me to be that I listen really well. That's a paradigm shift. Something in the job would be I'm going to be more strong and courageous. I believe that sometimes I get a little bit afraid to lead a client, maybe because they make more money or something like that. But I'm going to say, I know that what I have is of great value that's been done in and through my life, and I'm going to take hold of that. I'm going to shift from a second chair mentality to somebody who is leading and fighting for my clients, okay? So those are some paradigm shifts that I'm trying to make, all right? So the next thing I'm going to do is define what I call a keystone habit. Years ago, Yellowstone National Park, wolves became extinct because they would kill livestock in the area and ranchers would shoot them, and they became something that people got rid of, right? And so after a lot of research, they realized that wolves are what they call a keystone species, right? A species that has a disproportionate effect on the entire ecosystem of the national park of Yellowstone. I love that, disproportionate effect. In other words, because wolves weren't there, certain species didn't have a predator and they came out into the open, and so now meadows are trampled down, and certain flowers and vegetation had become extinct because the animals that were usually kept in the woods away from the wolves, out of sight, were now free to roam until they trampled down certain things. It changed the course of rivers, it changed the vegetation, it changed even certain species became extinct now because wolves weren't there, because other species had free roam and they didn't have anything to fear. And so the entire forest had become, and the park as a whole place had become different. So they reintroduce wolves, and all this stuff starts to come back, right? So if you could identify in your personal life and in your professional life, what's one thing from this conference workshop training that I could do that would affect the entire environment or ecosystem of my job, my organization, my career, my life, my family? If I could work that into my life as a habit, what would that be? And if you can define that one thing, that will make a huge difference. You can come up with 1,000 things you could do, but if you could define one that said, man, this is going to change who I am and how I work, then you would find a tremendous change in the entire ecosystem, okay? And the last thing you want to do is create 2 action steps around those things that I'm going to do this week. That's a distinguishing factor. 2 action steps I will do this week. So for me, I'll give you a good example back up just a second, the keystone habit, right? So I'm going to develop a weekly rhythm that balances some things I've pre-identified. I know I need these things in my week, every week, to go out and find more business or clients or something that's going to drive what I do. I'm going to go do that this week. I'm going to build a calendar that I know I need to have. I know I've needed to have it for a while, and I'm going to build an hour every week where I look at that and make sure I'm staying on course. Those are keystone habit changes. And then I'm going to create then 2 prioritized steps for this week. So one of those for me is that I'm going to form a list of potential collaborators with me because I know I need more people helping me with a couple of these things. And I've started working on that list here Monday morning, and by Friday I've committed that I'm going to contact 4 of those people and set up a meeting with them so that I know I have it on the calendar, I know I prioritized it. Another thing is that I've got to get a quick win in one area to kind of build some momentum. And so I'm going to make sure that by the end of this week, I have determined what that quick win is, and I've put the date on the calendar. Those are my action steps, so that I'm forced to do that thing and get it going. So if you do this stuff, then the last thing you really want to do, kind of as a 3.5 spot, because some of you ask about this, I've got a whole list of tabled ideas. So ideas that I'm going to do later on that aren't for just yet. I'm going to do those later. And I'm going to keep the list of that so I can come back to it. All right. So 3 things. You're going to, once you've gathered all your takeaways, you're going to say, what's the big paradigm shift? What am I going to do differently? What am I going to focus on? What is the mindset shift? What's the keystone habit? The thing I can do that's going to affect the entire ecosystem or environment of what I'm doing that will affect all kinds of things. And then thirdly, what are 2 action steps to make sure I put that paradigm shift into place and put that keystone habit into place by the end of this week after you've come back? And then you can look at the other ideas later, right? But start right now on the right things. Thank you, guys. Go to www.goinceptus.com for more kind of blogs and videos and ideas just like this we're getting off the ground. Thank you. Good luck.